In April 2016, Bust magazine featured some art with a feminist point of view by an artist named Razzy. Razzy's illustrations speak of the frustrations of living in a sexist society, some of which I could relate to, but others were a little off the deep end for me. Let's take the first one that appears in the sequence. I don't know in what country this would be accurate. Here in the US, this couldn't be further from the truth. Our culture calls men shallow all the time for basing their choice of a mate on looks. Remember the movie Shallow Hal? If you do a Google search on this, you'll find that it pretty much goes both ways. Basically, everyone thinks everyone is shallow. Moving on, here's one I do agree with. Barring situations like self-defense, no one, male or female, has the right to hit anyone. Yet in our society, we regularly see women slap men in the face or hit them in the chest or shoulders or whatever, and it's deemed acceptable because he must have deserved it. Or because we see women as weak and couldn't possibly hurt him. It's bullshit. Hitting someone in anger is abuse. It doesn't matter if the fists belong to a male or a female. And it's not just about physical damage. It's emotionally damaging when someone who's supposed to love you hits you. Remember, there was a time we used to excuse men hitting women too. So let's look at the next one. Now, it's not that this doesn't happen. Now, I've certainly been harassed by men who couldn't take no for an answer, but they were rare. My problem with this one is the assertion that the hounding, barking jerk is the norm, when it's usually like this. I've lived in several US cities, and this was never the norm for me, by any stretch. This shouldn't be confused with catcalling. Street harassment is pretty normal in certain cities, but this cartoon is depicting a man asking a woman out, not catcalling. It's important to bring social awareness to our differing experiences in the world and social injustices, but we need to do it in responsible ways. Ways that don't exaggerate or are symptoms of our individual traumas that cause us to see things through an emotional lens. That can prevent us from seeing things from a more objective point of view. And next we have this one. I agree that our culture shames boys and men for showing vulnerability. And that's stupid because they're human, and humans are going to be vulnerable sometimes. Just like shown in this part, males are expected to never show pain and sorrow. But there's a contradiction in Razzy's cartoons that comes up. Razzy's already made the point that boys and men are called names when they show vulnerability or when they're hurt. But now Razzy thinks that this guy would be shown empathy instead of being told to man up. I do agree with the top part though. We live in a victim-blaming culture. Both men and women are often made to feel guilty for what happened to them. Razzy hits the nail on the head though with this one. Sexist beliefs hurt both men and women. Everybody wins when we choose to listen to each other with the intent to understand, as opposed to the intent to just prove we're right. If you like my channel, please consider becoming one of my patrons on my Patreon. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And thanks for watching and subscribing, guys. I'll see you next week.